We're doing a project on globe atmosphere investigation. Audra Edwards could not be here. She's our 6th grade science teacher. Lisa Langford is here. She's our 7th and 8th grade science teacher. I'm Kim Walker. I'm the biology teacher at the high school, and we're from Hawkins ISD. Hawkins ISD is a little rural community located about 20 miles north of Tyler. And we have approximately about 758 students total in our school system, and approximately 60 of the students participated in this bud burst project that we're doing. We are 32 degrees north, 58 minutes and 49 seconds latitude, and we are 95 degrees west with 20 minutes and 5 seconds longitude of the prime meridian, I guess, and the equator on the latitude.
Oops. Sorry about that, guys. Some of the industries in our area that interested us and actually are going to play a huge role in future components of our study are the Exxon Mobil gasoline plant. It's a private company, of course, which is categorized as a gasoline blending plant. I'm trying to get on camera so you guys can actually see my face instead of half of me. Sorry. They are one of the oldest corporations in Texas, and their time in Hawkins began in the 1940s. It was one of the largest in the state when they first began production here. And in January of 2010, the gas plant announced that they would begin a new Niject corporation. My dad is actually a part of bringing Niject in, and what they're going to do is inject nitrogen and some other gases into the existing lines and also build new lines, which will enable them to recover more oil and gas from the reservoirs that are here and extend the life of this mature plant. We are going to look, like I said, on future components of our studies. We hope to investigate how these processes affect our groundwater and maybe the soil in this region.
Okay, as you can see in our title, it says Hawkins, where oil and water mix, and because both of these are two major industries in the Hawkins area, the oil and the water, I'm going to talk to you for just a minute about the Ozarka water plant, which is located here in Hawkins. It provides jobs, of course, in Hawkins and their surrounding area. We have bottled water that actually goes out statewide and nationwide. Well, basically all over the world is our bottled water source here. Also, the water that we have here, not only do we produce a large quantity of it, but it's also very quality type water. And as you can see on the screen, it has to comply, of course, with the TNRCC, which is the Texas National Resource Conservation Commission. And it was, you know, our project is going to, as you can see once we get into it, the oil and the water are going to be extensions of our projects that we hope to actually bring into it. We want to see how these two major industries affect each other and affect basically the soil and the water and different things around in our area. So that's why we brought this into it.
Now we're getting to the student-led research portion of our project, and we were given bud burst for the spring, and the students were allowed to look at all GLOBE protocols. They did go to the GLOBE website and look at the protocols, and each one of them presented a classroom PowerPoint on one of the different protocols. And they did clouds. We had one who gave on GPS protocols. We obviously, and of course, had our bud burst because that was our project. One student or a group of students did data input. And then, of course, the air temperature protocols were included in those. So these are just some examples of our student research.
On the bud burst, like I said, Lisa and I both were talking that our science classes were the ones involved in this project, and it was, of course, on the phenology of native tree species. We have some native tree species here in Hawkins that we'll be going over with in just a minute. And the students actually went out. If you look at the pictures when you go through our PowerPoint, you're going to see that we have some really neat things right here at the school of where our kids can actually go out and study. They can study soil, they can study hydrology because we actually have a pond here. We have a lot of surrounding types of trees. There's just a major area in our major places, or I guess I should say spaces in our area that we actually can go out and gather a lot of information on. And you'll see these pictures as we go through them. And we have some pictures of the trees. And so what they did is they went down to an area and they picked 3 trees. And from these 3 trees, you're going to see this is where they gathered their information. They watched the tree to see when they were going to be, when the bud burst was going to occur.
Okay. Students began collecting data about 2 weeks before we expected bud burst to actually happen. So what they did is went down to the pond area, chose their trees, and each group got to choose their own tree. So we have 3 different trees that we looked at. They made predictions of what they thought would happen, and since this was our first year, most of those predictions were off a little bit, but the kids did go down and use our weather boxes to get temperature data, soil temperature data. They checked the pond and surrounding area to see, how those things supported and affected the trees, and just really looked into growth patterns of all of our native wildlife. And when you do see the pictures, you will see that we are blessed to have a lot of nice greenery in our backyard, basically. They went out, like I said, about 2 weeks prior to when we expected bud burst to occur and picked their trees. This is one of the trees way before bud burst. And the group is sitting in front of it, of course, proud to show off their tree. And unfortunately, I think that's the one that didn't make it through the entire study because one of them died. But what we did, of course, is go in and notice when we first began greening up, when the trees began to show signs of life for the spring. And then they watched it until we got significant evidence that bud burst had occurred. And we'll talk about that on another slide in just a minute. But this slide is giving you an idea of what we want to do and how we want to move forward with our protocols, maybe. The kids are really excited and hopeful to communicate project results with the other Globe schools. We're hoping to learn more about inputting our data and getting that uploaded so that everyone can benefit from it. And we are planning to compare the phenological patterns among the different native species that we have and predicting maybe the timing of bud burst for upcoming seasons with some of our more advanced and the GT students.
Okay, on this one, it just shows that, of course, here are our students again, and they're actually down by our pond area. And the students went out twice a week, beginning 2 weeks prior, like she said, to the anticipated bud burst. The kids, I know that they also, when they went out there and they recorded data and information from our weather boxes, they also looked at cloud cover, and they did record data from looking at different types of clouds and different information there. They also looked at, as in the weather boxes, they looked at temperature, we looked at precipitation in the area, how much rainfall had we had, how much rainfall had we not had, and we looked to see if there was any direct correlation with that and the bud burst that did occur.
So here are some of our students collecting and recording their data, and as you guys all know, but our kids didn't, the timing on bud burst on even an individual tree can be very different. and it can vary by several days, even with that one specimen. So for this reason, the kids actually recorded the actual date of bud burst when we had bud burst on at least 3 different areas of the tree. So a lower branch, a middle branch, and an upper branch, to the best of our abilities to see that is what the kids were looking for to actually record bud burst date when we actually had green.
And these are the 3 trees that were actually chosen. These are native trees to East Texas. They identified the trees as
the chinkapin oak is actually one of our native species. It grows from western Vermont to Trans-Pecos in Texas. Mainly in central Texas, those Trans-Pecos areas are just little local populations of the tree. It needs an alkaline soil and humid climate, the kids found out, and they figured out what that meant, what had to be in the soil for that to happen. The bare oak, I think we probably misidentified, but these are our 3 specimens as they begin bud burst and greening up. And I'm pointing at the screen like you can see me, but the top picture is the chinkapin. And we're not sure on the dead one and the scrub oak. Audra she was our staff photographer and has the order of the pictures, so we're not sure what we've got there just based on her pictures. But we love the picture of our little boy. He was begging his tree to grow. Please grow, please grow. And it just wouldn't. But like I said, I think we've misidentified that bare oak because it grows more in northern states in the U.S. Doesn't usually reach down to us here in Texas. But the scrub oak, we do have some native introduced populations. They're not native, they're introduced here in Texas, but they do survive and thrive in our environment.
Okay, and then here are some pictures. What we're doing with these pictures is showing you that our students were very actively involved in this project. And you can see the upper picture on the left. The students are actually recording cloud cover information that day in their journals. All the kids had journals. They had, I guess, worksheet type things to write on and record that information with. They also wrote in their journals about different things that they observed while they were outside. We also have another student over here who's actually using the rainfall that we collected rainfall in. He's reading the amount of rainfall that we received during that particular time frame. And then the students had to learn how to use the GPS system so that they could actually write down their information on their GPS protocol. But you can see the kids are very actively involved. They really had fun with this project. It was a fun thing to do. They all gave power presentations at the end, and so those are really cool. I wish we could put some of those up, but of course we don't have those to put up for you right now, but they were cool to look at. The kids did an awesome job.
Okay, technical difficulties, give me a minute. There we go. Of course, this is just us, as we all know, recording maximum and minimum temperatures outside. The kids trying to figure out that contraption. We've moved into their new home. They had a lot of fun figuring out what max and min meant and how to move from Celsius to that more easily readable Fahrenheit number. So that's just a quick shot of that. This is a great picture of our pond. This is our pond, and we do have our kids go down there and test pH in the water and things like that. They enjoy it quite a bit, and that's where we want to tie in these future studies. We've got an Exxon well that we don't have a picture of. It's probably 1,000 meters maybe behind this pond, and I'm saying that, you know, I'm not great with my distances and judging, but it's very, very close. So we want to see what that saltwater injection, that nitrogen injection is doing as far as effects on groundwater, if we could test that and figure out how to do that. We're interested in it, and we want to encourage the kids to be interested as well.
The reason we have future studies on this particular picture is because we hope to actually extend our project and do some hydrology with it, testing the pond water to see if there's any effects from maybe the surrounding oil that we have here. Does it have a direct effect? Even I think Lisa and I talked earlier about even the Ozarka plant and stuff. Are there any effects from surrounding water resources that might affect the plant?
Absolutely. If we're pulling water from the reservoirs and the underground springs to send all over the world so that we can have our cool bottled water, is this affecting our other waterways and watersheds in this area? So future component there. Here we are just, she's actually sifting for critters right there, but we do test the alkalinity and all the pH. And what effects do our local industries, that's kind of where we're ending up and wrapping up, what effects do these local industries, the water and oil, and where they mix, what does that have on our community and our area? The end. Thank you for listening and making this easy for us. Any questions that we can possibly answer? Thanks.
And Julie, we want to say, both of us want to say thank you to you very much and all the time and effort you put into it and listening to our questions and our panic attacks that we've had occasionally here. So we really appreciate it.
Anytime. Are your kids interested in how oil affects? Do they think about that kind of thing?
They actually are, more than you would know, and they want to know, how do we test that kind of thing? How do we figure out what happens there? And they understand that we do get both oil and water production out of our small town. Many of their parents work at one or the other of these plants. And so they want to know, is what my dad's doing at Exxon messing up what so-and-so's mom does at the water plant? I mean, does that make it harder for her to clean the water so that we can send it out? So yeah, they're very interested.
That's great. I mean, it's nice to have a local thing that they're interested in.
It is.
Okay, any other questions for Kim and Lisa? And I see Luis lost audio.
Yeah, I see that.
I wish she could lose video. That would be great. Or maybe we should just lose video so we don't know how silly we look.
But you can see by the pictures that we do have some great resources available to us, or great sources for us to go to and to do a lot of different things related to science.
Yeah, we're teaching them to identify water snakes at this point.
Oh, yeah.
And which ones we run from and which ones we might be safer. We did see, all we got was, it was black down at the pond the last time we were there. So we're kind of leery of going to stomp through the water these days with our students. Fracking. Yes, but I'm sorry, I'm talking and typing. Yes, they are fracking at this site, but we are not sure to what degree. We did look into that, but haven't really gotten any clear answers on it. We just know it does happen because it's the biggest way that they actually separate the components into usable fossil fuels.
There's actually, I know a woman who does a lot of geology work with fracking, and man, it's an interesting topic. I don't know if you've ever investigated like what they share with you about what chemicals are used, but a lot of them are classified and they won't actually share what's in them. It's just, I don't know. I don't know a ton about fracking, but it's.
I don't either, but that's what I've heard, that they're such classified and like embalming fluid type things,
Yeah.
Things that will really, really cause us lots of detriment to our bodies. So.
Yeah, it's an interesting area of study.
Louise, I don't know if he has his audio back, but we will certainly do that.
Louise has asked if we will send him some pH data, and yes, we will try to get that in, to him just as soon as we can.
We are supposed to, I don't know how much of this we're supposed to share, but sometime in the next few days, we are supposed to get with Julie and actually learn how to input the data so that we can share it with everyone. So we will hopefully do better with that in the near future.
Entering the data is awesome, so it's not very hard. Your students will pick up quickly.
It's just being able to have it, and I don't have it in front of us right now, so.
No, I think that it was just you. I'm glad you're back. Okay, well, I'm going to turn it back over to the little announcements I have. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank y'all.